Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking round two right here with Nick Sestero. I have Superhero, and we were chatting for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. And yeah, no one hit record. So
Well, you
this
know
is
what that proves, Nick? You're not perfect.
no one's perfect.
You're not
But
perfect.
we were talking about obviously the ins and outs of the book and what brought her to actually write a book about the hair industry. And there's so much in this from a stylist and from a hair salon owner's perspective. But it was like you said, this is your journal, right? This is like
It
you just
was.
your thoughts, getting it out of your mind typically. And there's times when I was reading through the book and I visualized it happening to me, the conversations, the client walking in with the Starbucks in their hand.
Ah,
And just take us through like exactly for the second time now, like what brought you to write a book? Because I
okay,
like
so I'm gonna hope to remember what I told you already. It was I love our industry and I love everything about it and all the stages I have gone through from the beginning when I was 15 and was shampoo girl and stylist. That was tough, but then salon owner. And salon owner is a very hard lane to be in. And I would come home and very frustrated of, from employment standpoint, employees and clients and back orders and issues with clients and the Wi-Fi going down. And I would instead of just quitting and going to work at Walmart as a greeter, I decided to just write a therapy journal. And it was for me. It was only for me. And it was about 2 to 3 years into it. And I finally showed it to my husband. And he would say to me at times, like, what are you doing on that iPad? I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm just reading. And I was actually writing something. I was just channeling, it was stories that I was remembering and I would just put them together. It really came from a frustrated time in my life. I just felt COVID had a lot to do with it. Everything, the proverbial snow globe was shook
when did
after
you first
COVID.
open your salon? What year?
2006. So we're
Okay.
almost 19 years. So it's a long time. Not young as I really look, but I feel that I really wasn't going to write a book. It was just my own thing, and maybe one day when I died, somebody would
Well,
find it. But
everyone says that like a hairstylist, they talk to their clients, they're like, you should write a book. You should write a book.
every day of my career, people say they'd watch the bullshit that goes on in the salon, and they'd say, somebody's really got to write a book about what goes on in the salon because there's so many things like I have one hairdresser that I work with for many years. She came with me when I first opened. All I have to do is look at her. And I look at her and she looks at me and we both know exactly. There's a backstory to every person that's sitting in our chair. And there's a lot of bullshit that we have to deal with. And it is a very frustrating thing. And I'm the mother of the group. I never chose to have children, but yet I have a family and I'm responsible for their income and I'm responsible for their lives. And yet very stressful job to have. And I really hope that people who do sit in our chairs do understand that, salon owners, we look like we've got it all together. We don't. We're like those little ducks in the road. Little duck. You don't see the duck looks really nice gliding on the
And the
water.
feet are just going.
Oh, paddling out of control. You don't see that. And you know what? It's our job to, like, you're a parent. Your
Yeah.
kids can't see you freak out. So
No.
you have to do what you have to do.
I,
And as a
I tell
salon
owners
owner,
all the time. And it's it's
oh,
it's it's all gonna work out anyway.
mhm.
Right. We come from a different era though. Like we were like I started hair in the late 90s. Yeah, we're scrappy. It was a
Yeah.
way different era back then. And when we were talking offline before, we were talking about like my favorite part of doing hair, my favorite era was when I was an assistant. And
Hmm.
it was like we're responsible for a lot as an assistant, but you like as an owner, it's like the power goes out, the Wi-Fi goes out, the bills got to get paid. There's a flood, there's a hurricane, COVID. And as an assistant, it's like your job is so dialed in. It's
Hmm.
if you're a good assistant, right? And
Hmm.
I remember leaving work on those Saturdays, and it was cash back then. Like I got paid cash under the table, and it
Days.
was just different. I got my envelope, and I left work, and it was so rewarding. But it was a team. I think nowadays even in my salons, like I like freedom. I don't like structure. Everyone kind of does their own thing. And I'm almost tempted to bring it back to the
Bring it
way
back,
it was back then,
please.
you know?
Yeah.
But like, they don't understand it. Like, no one understands what it was like to be in a salon in the
Oh,
80s and the 90s who does hair today, unless you were in it.
think about who else makes you people, somebody walks in, we make them happier when they leave. We turn their day around. So
Yeah.
when they come in and they're in a mood, they got a bug up their ass, or they don't look good, or they're gray hair, we fix that. We are feel good industry. And it's so important that we still keep doing what we're doing. It's very hard on us to do that because we have to show up. Hairdressers are immortal. We're not allowed to get sick. We're not allowed to have a bad day. If we're fighting with our husband, like it stays in the parking lot. And if we're mad at a coworker, that happens after work. Everything it's almost like we're performing. And
Well,
I'm not faking it because I'm
now I'm
very,
thinking about it. This book is your therapy.
it is without a doubt. And it also, when I finally read my thoughts back, I said, I'm not the only one. There are other salon owners. There's just hairdressers that are burning out. You know yourself, the burnout's real. It's real, and it's hard, and it's changed a lot of people to think that they just don't want to do this. Like you had said, you want to go work at Home Depot. I was going to go work at Walmart and just be the courier over there.
It's the people that you got to deal with sometimes, and they come in with the crazy expectations. And you spoke about it in your book too. Like they come with the with the the pictures, and they want something unrealistic, and they want it now. They want it yesterday, and it's like, how do you tell?
I'm like, I'm a beautician, not a magician. Yeah. And they're showing us, which is where another part of it is, these AI generated images. And then, or like Kim Kardashian walks in with platinum blonde hair, but she was just black hair. Well, Kim Kardashian has it. Yeah, well, how do you even know that that's real? You don't know.
A wig.
It's just not authentic anymore. And people's expectations are different than what they used to be.
One of the hardest things I remember, not hardest things, I was younger in my career-ish. I was in my 30s, and a woman came in and she had pictures when she was 25. And it was like this whole thing. And she went through either a divorce or her husband passed on and she had grandkids, and we're not getting her hair right. It's exactly what her hair can do. And it looks amazing. It's exactly what we spoke about. But it's not like the picture when she was 25.
She's not 25.
That's what I said to her. And my stylist was sitting next to me. And I was like, Nancy, I was like, can I talk to you for a second? Like,
how do I handle
off the record here. That's not you anymore. And no matter how hard we try to bring you back to when you were 25, it's not going to happen. You're a grandparent now.
Like, I mean, I'm sure in your day, Nick, you were a great hairdresser, but you're not that good.
Yeah. And she was like, we talked for a minute. She sat in silence for like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're right.
Yeah.
And we had like a heart to heart. We hugged each other. She gave me a kiss goodbye.
She's thankful to you because unfortunately you have to be the Grim Reaper.
She needed to hear that.
Yeah, I got to dial it back. Honey, like you were so lucky to look like that when you were 25, but you ain't 25 anymore.
And that's the heart. Like no one understands what we do when it comes to the terms of like going through a divorce, a breakup, a death in a family, a wedding was called off. Like, how many times the girl sits in my chair? I'm like, hey, what's the plan for the wedding? We called it off. Holy shit. Like, there's some traumatic moments when you're like, all right, well, what do we talk about now? The news?
Yeah. I wrote about the time I was a shampoo assistant. Yeah. I just started. I was 15. And the woman came in, and obviously they all knew her. And she was like, they were, congratulations. Oh, my God. She's crying. Oh, my God. She finally got pregnant. She came back in 2 months later. I didn't know. Nobody clued me in, and I'm washing her hair, and I go, so when is the baby due? And she just started bawling. And she went, I lost the baby. And it's not you. And I was like, oh my God, suds in her hair. She had to sit up. They were all hugging her. They're looking at me like, you asshole. And I'm like, nobody told me, because I had this thing that I even wrote about like not gossiping. Yeah. That's not gossip. Like, you got to clue everybody in. But I didn't know. Do you know that you could tell me you're pregnant until you push a stroller in my salon? I ain't asking you. You can be out here. Let me see that. I'm not asking. Yep. But the same thing, like you said, what if it's what if it's a marriage? What if it's, a wedding gets called off? I mean, these are traumatic events. But you know what? They still come to our chair. And you know why? We're their people, and they trust us. And that's a lot of what I love about what we do. We are in the inside circle. We might not know, and then we pry it out of them in our chair, but we are the people, they feel so comfortable. They're going through such a traumatic thing. They still come to us because there's a comfort level when they are sitting in our chair. You're doing your job right. You are that person.
That was the hardest part about leaving. It was the relationships that I had with people, the stories that I knew. Majority of the clients stayed in my salon. Like they got passed off to somebody else, and that was the hardest part. Is like I still want to know what's going on in their life, and I just had to stop doing hair. Like it took me 2 years to try and step away from behind the chair because of how loyal people were, and like we're hairstylists. We don't say no. At least this new generation, right? This new generation might.
Well,
and they're all about the boundaries.
We're not allowed to say no.
No.
If we say no to them, we have to hug them and dim the lights and give them.
It wasn't in our vocabulary. Like, we'll get you in. And so my team would watch me book. And I would just be like, I would come in whenever you want. She's like, how do you do that? What do I say? No? I'm going to tell her not to come in. I'll get her in. It'll work out.
I think we were just from a different generation. It was like, you had to fight for it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to put somebody in your chair. You had to stand out. That's why when I was the assistant, I have a thing where I laugh. I say, if you stick the broom in my ass, I could sweep at the same time. I was making coffee and washing people and helping with a perm and helping with a highlight and doing this. And remember the credit card machine? It wasn't really a credit card machine. It was like a
so, oh yeah. Oh shit. Oh my God. I remember those back in the day.
Yeah. And you actually had to like call up Amex for it. Like it was really prehistoric. And it was only like probably, hang on, send that to my plus coming through. And it was kind of like this prehistoric thing, but it was still a vibe. And I was at all.
I have a young audience too. So anyone who has no idea what Nick is talking about, when we had credit cards back in the day, okay, we would take the card, we'd put it in this machine with a carbon copy of paper, and we'd slide it over, and it would leave an imprint, and we have a copy for us, a copy we send into the credit card company, and then a copy for the person.
I doubt that the young ones even know what carbon paper is.
It's like a photocopy you scan real quick, all right? If they know what that is too. We're gonna go to fax machines in a minute, and that's what we would do. But the problem back then, remember the scams? Like people would just have fake credit cards and
and you didn't know until you sent your paperwork in that you didn't get paid. Absolutely,
it was like the wild west. Yeah. Holy shit, you brought that back. But
we actually had a drawer. And we had it wasn't even a Post-it, but we taped it. And it was the people you couldn't take the credit card from because they did give you a phony credit card. There was only maybe like 1 or 2 names. And we knew never to do that.
We had checks back then. Like it was just a different world.
Oh, God.
My friend's dad.
I accept checks because I know my people, but I will never accept a check from somebody who's like some rando.
I have a salon in Parsippany. It's a smaller salon, older clientele. Like it's, they're, some of my stylist is 83. Right? She's still
my idol.
Yeah, she crushes it. She's awesome. Her name's Goody. And she was actually in the original salon that I worked in when I was an assistant that I loved working at so much. She was one of the stylists, Linda, who I took the salon from. She was the original owner. And Lori, I was her assistant when I was a kid, like a baby.
Oh, I love that.
And so I just let them do their own thing. I don't bother them, but they still have checks. Like there's predominantly checks there from these people.
They know what the carbon copy machine is.
They definitely know what it was.
They might even have them.
So when we talk about owning a salon, right? And back then we had a book. We didn't have booking software.
Oh God,
there was barely credit cards. Everything was cash.
You had like a nub pencil, and you used it. Yeah,
that's it. And there's no a nub pencil. There's no internet. And you talk about the color wasn't expensive. Like if you toned someone's hair, it was like T18 for 20 cents.
Yeah, it was like
wasn't a root melt, a shadow melt, a tip out. And for a salon owner to be profitable back then was very simple. There wasn't a 3% charge here. Like color wasn't $85 for an application. Like it was just different back then.
And I feel like where you're touching on is, I just want to interrupt you.
Yeah, please.
I started, it was like perms and it was like that. And then through this arc of my career, it is really and I wrote this passage. If the 15-year-old Nikki would see where the 50-year-old Nikki is now, and see all the changes, like, would it inspire me? Like, would I still want to do hair? It is on another planet. Yeah. There is no lacquer hairspray. There is no teasing. There's no bonnet dryers for roller sets. There is no well, there's some perms, but not really. Things are different. The extensions, the world of extensions and color and balayage and the internet and me being a dinosaur, like learning on Instagram a reel of like how to do something. It's really amazing where we've come. So there's so many positives, but it's polar opposite of back
Oh,
in the when we started.
but the way hairstylists are looked at nowadays too is different. We're like celebrities for the most part. You have
Oh,
these people that walk
I
on water. It's crazy.
finally. Well,
Yeah.
back then, I don't know about you. I don't know if you went to college. I did
No,
not.
I did not. No.
I was shamed and I was looked frowned upon when I would say, people would say to me, what college are you applying to? Because I was working in the salon since I was in ninth grade. And I'd say, well, I'm not going to go to college. I'm just going to work in the salon. I want to get my license. And they're like, you're so much smarter than that. What do you just want to be a hairdresser? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And my parents were very supportive. I mean, it's not that I couldn't go to college. I didn't want to. I
It's
mean,
still like that today, though, too. Like there's
yeah.
still like a stigma,
Mm,
but it's starting to come out because these girls are doing extensions and they're doing like 14,000 a week.
yeah, they're killing it. They just got to hope that their extension clients are always going to be getting extensions. That's the
Yeah.
one thing when you
The
specialize.
one trick ponies. You
Yeah,
got people who
because
just only do balayage, just only do extensions. Like you got to diversify a little bit here.
yeah, that's also another part of the frustration I spoke about is that you can't just be so special. Like remember Little House on the Prairie? There was
Laura
like
Ingram.
yeah, Laura Ingram. Yeah, but like you had Doc and he you had a cold, you went to him. You had scarlet fever, you went to him. If the horse was sick, he fixed the horse. Like there were doctors that did everything. Now these days, my own husband had an issue with his shoulder and he needed what he was told a total shoulder replacement. He went to a shoulder specialist. The doctor says, "Oh, I don't do that. You have to go to a different type of specialist."
It's
So
insane.
everybody's specialists now. So if you're a balayage specialist, hats off to you. What are you going to do when they want to be a brunette? What if they have a family and they just don't have the ability to commit to that? You're going to lose your clients. So I've got an old school mentality and it
Me
works
too.
for me.
But
But
I was able to book $5,000 to $6,000 a week
yeah,
and never have these ups and downs. And I didn't worry when someone didn't show up. I didn't have a cancellation policy. No one would cancel.
I know.
It just wouldn't. My clients would like we wouldn't call out sick. They wouldn't cancel. And if they did, I'll get you in. Don't worry. It
Yeah,
was just it was like I didn't worry about that because I know I have three more people that I could be like, hey, if you want, I'll squeeze you in now at 4. All right, I'm leaving work.
we're a hustler too. So you
Yeah,
knew how to, like finagle and like
yeah.
move around.
And I knew when Barbara was gonna, she's always 10 minutes late. So Nancy couldn't make it. I'm like, Nancy, come 10 minutes early. And
Yep.
I would finagle those two schedules. It would all work out. And I knew Barbara was late. So I'm like, Barb, I know you're a little late, but I'm gonna have Jen put your color on. Is that cool? But I'm still gonna cut you. And
Yeah.
it just worked out. And so
But that's
there's no
the
stress.
whole, you could do that if you have a team.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you're independent. And
If
if that,
you're alone in a suite, it's
I have
tough.
my opinions about it, and I'm not saying it's bad, but it's isolating. And I feel that in a moment, like just like what you said, if they're late or you're running late, you have an option. What do you do when there's no option? You're just pissing people. People are going to get annoyed. But that's okay. I mean, if it works for them, I'm a believer. Just stay in your own lane. I know what works for me.
Yeah.
I don't force. I couldn't be by myself. I think that also there's a coffee clutch aspect of my salon in particular that people miss. They love chatting with everybody in the salon. They want to know where she went on vacation. They want the recipe from that person. They want to talk about politics with this person.
How many
They don't
chairs do you have in your salon?
well, we're really just we're hairstylists. We have 3 stylists. We have a color table of four seats, and I
Okay.
have 5 hair stations. So we
I
around
love that size salon.
so small. I love it.
It's like because the one person has 5 chairs, and it's the same way. Like
Mhm.
I had a girl who went there, and she was not on the same political side of the aisle as the rest of the people in the salon, and she left. She's like, Nick, I can't work anymore. I
No,
was
but
like, that's
that's
fine, whatever.
stupid.
Like it's hardcore there. Like they were.
Mhm.
I love it. It's great though. I also stand where they stand too politically. So it's been great.
Yeah. And you know
And
what? What do they say? Religion and politics don't talk about it, but how could you not? I mean,
it makes for great conversations, especially today.
yeah.
And but they come in. How was the wedding? How's your son? Oh my God, your grandson. And I walk in. They're like, Nick, how's the grandkids? I don't go in there enough either. I got to
If
pop in there a
you're,
little more. What'd you say?
it's your family.
Yeah,
It's an extension of your family, and I always say that if we if they stopped coming to us, we've built such a bond and such a relationship through all of these years. Whether you're with me 2 years or you're with me 30 years, if they don't come to us, it's like they're not seeing their friends or family.
It's legit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, and I don't care if you want to go somewhere else for your hair. I want to know what happened with your ex-husband.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh no, yeah, because we know the dirt.
yeah, like tell me.
On the chair, you don't have the tea. You're not getting
Yeah.
it.
And it's
But
funny, I don't like
I,
gossip. I
I had
don't
one
gossip.
client in last week, and she goes, wait a second. She grabs a piece of paper out of her bag. She goes, my daughter needs shampoo. My husband wanted to know what was the restaurant you told me that you went to that weekend. What happened with your mother, and how's your nephew? She had a list of all the questions she needed to know. She had to go home and report. She was going in. Mikey was going in to report home to the family what was going on with me and everybody else in the
I
salon.
love that.
Yeah.
You don't get that. Do you ever work in a big salon?
I did work in a salon right prior to opening up a salon. My first salon that I worked in was very small neighborhood, like 6
Yeah.
operators. And then I worked in another salon that had probably like 18 people. And it was just, I stayed in my bubble. It was almost like
Yeah.
I was in my own little area. It was just a weird, toxic.
Yeah, it was the big salons I worked in were not like my small salon. And it was like that little salon, neighborhood salon on the corner. It's just something about, I don't know if it's where I grew up in North Jersey. It was like our background. You always knew whose uncle was doing what with the butcher and the this and the that. And there was a cash deal in the back of the parking lot, and the products were going out the back door. And it was like, hey, we need 40 cases of Shaper. Like it was just
Shaper made me. It's still around, but may it rest in peace.
It is. And I was like, because I went to the Marine Corps and I did hair in that small salon, went to a bigger salon. 9/11 happened, went to the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
And then I came back. And I remember working in California on a Marine Corps base because I was licensed, but I couldn't work in California then. I had to work on base because it didn't matter where you were licensed at. It was like that small neighborhood salon again. I was like, you know what? I'm just so good at hair. Let me just keep on doing it. And that's when
great. I love that.
Yeah, it was cool. But then in these bigger salons, I just never liked it.
You know what? It's not for me. I left the first salon I was going to go to another place. I had an opportunity to go. She was desperate for somebody that I was very busy all the time. And she kind of gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I went. It was a little bigger. And like I said, I stayed in my little bubble. So at the same time, a girl who's actually working for me now left to go to a very big salon on Long Island. And I remember going to dinner with her a few months later. And I'm like, how is it? Because it was so different. We were like a neighborhood salon. And here I was like still operating like small. And she's in this big, like a department store, almost like a salon. And she's like, I like it. It's just, I could work on somebody and like not have to talk to them at all. And I was like, oh, I hate that. Like I realized like I was a little like, maybe I should have went where she went. Like, should I have stepped it up? At that statement, I was like, I'm good.
I like to talk to like other clients and other chairs too.
Oh, yes.
Like, Barb, where did you go last week?
Exactly.
She's going there this week. Come over here when you're done. Once you finish your color, bring her over here.
I'm going to Turks and Caicos too.
Yeah.
Where'd you stay? Like you want that. And I so
that's the part of like the salon that I love.
Yeah. And news for you too. Like you pointed out, we know who's going to be late. We know who's coming in with the Starbucks. We know who all we have to do is look at the shampoo assistant and say like, take your time. And we can do because they're going to piss, we're late. We know who the pain in the asses are. We know who I don't like saying it. And I always apologize, like the Karens of the, we know who they are. And we also know the people that are like 100% loyal behind us. It doesn't matter if we are sick and we have to they're always going to be with us. They're never going to leave us. Because I've gone home sick like one day and I lost a client over it. She was annoyed that how dare I?
That's annoying.
Yeah.
I had a client, we got a new color line, and it just like the 643 was not the same as a 643 in this line. And whatever happened, I put like a ribbon of a color in there just to kind of kick it up a notch. And it was like bright red. It was like this.
Oh no.
And I'm power booked like 5 people in my salon right now. I'm like, shit. And she's looking in the mirror and she's looking at me. And she's like, all right, I'll see you next time. She comes back.
Oh my God. She was okay with it?
Yeah. And she came back. It was off, but she was a redhead anyway. Like, it was a couple shampoos. She was perm too. She's like, whatever you did last time, take that formula and throw it in the garbage.
Oh, okay. So she came back a few weeks
Yeah,
later.
yeah, we were laughing about it. I was like, listen, I was
Yeah,
like,
but look at that. But you know what I learned? You made the connection. You had a bonded relationship. And she still came back to you. She trusts you. She might
oh
not have been,
yeah,
but she trusts you.
yeah. And her color looked great when she came back in, and she's like, it faded right away. It was
Watch Dawn.
yeah, that's what Dawn. But she would use like these different shampoos from Amazon on her hair, and it would be bright the next day. Like, she was fun. She's amazing. She still comes to the salon. And
Okay.
I tell people, new stylist, if you're listening, new stylist,
Mm-hmm. Tune
there's
in.
two aspects of this industry. It's your product and your personality. And if you're not good at hair yet, which is your product, your service, right? The thing that you're selling, you're also selling your personality.
Absolutely.
And so it's so important that you're friendly, you remember things, you're
Mm-hmm.
personable, because you could build a huge business off of being likable and just being okay at hair. I
It
promise
is
you.
50% skill and 50% personality. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you have to connect. You have to connect. I've been mentored by Gino Stampora. He's amazing. And I learned at a very young age, he was so impressionable. He'll always say, I suck. I give the worst haircuts. If my clients ever got good haircuts, they would never come back because they would think like they want to be with me. He said, but if you make that connection, if they leave and they're not 100% satisfied, and if they call you or they just come back in 6 weeks and they tell you that they're not happy, you did your job. You fix it for them and you
Yeah.
apologize, you take responsibility, but they felt comfortable enough with you to come back. Somebody leaves a little unhappy and they go to work the next day and they say to their friend, I don't know, I think it's darker than usual. That girl who she's telling is like, you should go to my girl because she'll listen to, and you know what? You got likelihood that person's going to leave you. But if you make it, they're
I
not
love
going to,
that.
it's
I want to
true.
jump in. I'm going to cut you off because this happens too. If that person goes to somebody, let's say during the office talking, and someone's like, hey, I love your hair. Who do you go to? Oh, she's great, but don't go to her, or don't go to her. She's never consistent.
Oh,
That happens as well.
uh,
Sometimes your clients who come to you for the last 5 years may deter people from coming to be like, you know what? My color's always a little off. So just try going to someone else. But if your personality is great,
yes.
she's like, she's fantastic, sweetest girl ever. Definitely check her out. Every now and then she might be a little dark, or she might be a little too light or a little too dark, or she had
But that
but
happens. Like you said,
yes.
sometimes it's an issue of I have a thing about order. Like I'm a very type A.
Yeah.
Please put the 10, the 20, the 30, and the 40. Because I grab. Well, maybe I grabbed the 30 and I thought I grabbed the 20, and maybe the
Yeah.
roots are a little glowy. There's got to be a reason why. Or maybe I just accidentally just did something I wasn't supposed to do, or I didn't take the highlights off in time. I'm still human. But if somebody's in my chair and they're looking at it, I know that body language. They're doing this thing,
Yeah.
kind of, is everything all right? Do you think it just seems a little light? Okay, how about this? Do me a favor. Give me 2 seconds. I just got to make sure I just adjust my schedule, get back in the chair. I'm going to tone it down. You do it. Maybe they leave and they say they're fine. Check up on them if you feel that they're
Yeah.
not.
Follow up the next day.
Follow up, like just check, maybe even not the next day, maybe like 3 days later. Let them wash it once or twice. And you know what? You stand behind your work, but you also bond and you build a relationship where it becomes somewhat social, a little bit social. I'm not going to say very social. You don't have to go to lunch with them, but like enough that they feel like they come in and
Connected. Yeah.
you know where
And
I'm
they feel
going.
like they can tell you.
You know,
And don't take it personal. So a lot of people are like, what do you mean it's too late? If she says it was too late, it's too late. Like, all right, let's fix it.
yeah.
If it's a repeat offender, they're annoying, like you said, a Karen, it's different. But if you know when you mess someone's hair up too, you know it's a little too late.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes they may not know, but they're gonna find out. So if here's a little hint, hey, Amanda, if you think it's too late when you get home, it looks great right in here, but sometimes if the lighting's different wherever you get, give me a call. Just do me a favor, shoot me a message. Don't try and fix it yourself. Takes 2 minutes to fix. Guarantee you that next day you're getting a phone call. Yeah, I had a feeling, but the lighting's tricky in the salon, and then you just fix it. If you could fix it right then and there, you do it. But if
I
you're
have
too,
a rule. If you really in your gut, because your gut's going to lead you the whole time,
yeah,
your life. If you feel they're not happy, don't you dare let them walk out that door.
Oh no, she's like saying she's happy. She's
Oh,
literally, I love it.
happy,
Yeah.
yeah. But
But
if you're not,
you know, it looks a little off. But she's legitimately is like, oh no, no, I love it. I love it.
yeah, if they love it, they
Yeah.
can leave.
Yeah.
I'll kiss them goodbye. I'll start their car for them. But if you know in your gut, because we've had such, like, some people are on medication, or
Yep.
maybe they just had anesthesia. The gray doesn't cover. I had a situation one time, and it wasn't the person in my chair, but it was another one of my girls. The woman just kept leaning forward and doing this. She's like, "Did it cover?" And I hear the hairdresser say, "Well, yeah, I think the light is right over your head." So she's looking again. She's looking again. I'm feeling this. Now, it was the last customer of the day. We all want to get out after the last customer of the day, right? So the woman's up at the desk. Now she's looking at another mirror. And I grabbed the hairdresser and I said, "You have to touch up those roots. They clearly didn't cover." We found out that the woman was on medication. And that's what had happened. So it puts a block on the hair. I said to her, she had a pocketbook on her arm. She's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to meet my friend for dinner." I said, "Listen to me very carefully. If you don't fix it, I'm fixing it, because this woman is never going to come back if we don't." So she took her bag off. She walked over and she goes, "You know what? I'm thinking it. Let me put a little bit of it." 20 minutes. She put the color on the root, washed her off quick, blew her quick. She was only in there for the woman to this day tells me, and this has got to be 15 years ago, "You know, I was leaving and never coming back."
Yeah.
So if you got to stand behind what your work, you know it's not good, you better fix it. Don't you dare let them leave, and do what you can, or just at least take responsibility. We did find out after the fact she was on kinds of medication and maybe had some surgery, so the anesthesia put a block. But this woman values how the business was run, because she said, "You wouldn't let me leave." And I'm telling you right now, I was going to
That
go
makes
and color it myself and never come back.
sometimes making a mistake in someone is the best thing for loyalty and how you show up after that mistake.
That,
Yep.
that. And circling back, I'm not seeing this in a lot of stylists. And it's just frustrating to me. I'm gaining people from it, so great, good for
Yep.
me. But I'm gaining or listening.
What's your take on charging someone? If you
Charge
if
for redo?
yeah,
No.
never, right?
For a
Two.
redo? No. If they came back 6 weeks later and said, "Listen, I really didn't love the color," I'll do something for them. I'll charge them for this service, and I will tell you them it
Throwing a
is.
haircut, throwing it something. Yeah.
Yeah, give them something, a product or something. Maybe don't charge them for the blowout, but if you know that they weren't happy and they sucked it up, like that's bad. That's like a sucky six
Yep.
weeks to live with a color you don't like, or.
Yeah.
But it's. I just put up a video, a reel about. I had spoken at another salon and I had done an event about confidence, and this is what the salon manager wanted me to talk about, like building up confidence and retaining clients. And I told a story about a hairdresser who, and this is God's honest truth, it was the other salon I was working in. She had such. The woman came in and said, like, like everything was great. I love the color and the cut, but the bangs were a little short. So when you do the haircut, you don't have to cut much on them. And the hairdresser was like so blindsided by it. She was like, "Well, then you weren't happy. Why are you saying you were happy if you weren't happy?" This went on for like an hour and a half. "Are you sure the color is good? Are you sure this? Are you sure that?" The woman never went. The woman came up to me. She paid and she said, "When do you hear that she's not?" I just got antagonized the entire time. Like the whole thing was just say, "I'm so sorry." I even went in the back room with that hairdresser that day and said, "What are you doing? The woman is happy that she's happy. She
Imagine
came
dating
back.
her.
Like you're almost pushing her out the door." And this is what happens.
Yep.
You
I have a
got
funny story about bangs. I have
to.
a woman in my chair, and we're
Thanks.
like, she has a graduation for her son, and we're talking. I'm like, listen, the bangs are perfect. She's like, "I want to go a little shorter. They always get in my face." I'm like, "If you cut them shorter, they're gonna pop up. You have a cowlick." Like,
Mhm.
I'm not doing it. She's like, "No, please just do it." Long conversation, and we did a beautiful bob. Like, it was like one of the best haircuts ever. Trimmed her bangs a touch, and they jumped up. I'm like, I just point cut slightly,
Yeah,
and
even
just
so.
that little bit was enough. She's like, "Oh," she's like, "How much you take off?" I'm like, "Honestly, look at the ground, nothing."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I got to dry him again." I'm like, "Listen," I'm like, "I told you this would happen." I said, "Ever since then, I'm never gonna do it again." Long story short, she was actually upset. She went on Facebook and one of my posts started bashing me.
Oh my
Now, I
God.
did her hair for like a little bit, not a long time, but enough for her not to bash me. Like, I don't ever do what I want to do. So anyway,
And you told her no to begin with. They
yep.
were fine.
So 3 weeks went by, or for whatever the time was for her next appointment. She wants to make another appointment.
No, she's not.
No. I go, listen, I go, how you acted was so uncalled for. And the fact that you went to Facebook, when she said, Nick, I'm sorry, that was one of the best haircuts I ever had. It was just the bangs threw me off and my son's
Well,
graduation.
wasn't that day because she put up a
Yeah.
post like that.
No, she commented under one of my posts. It wasn't even that. Like she didn't put a post. I was like, listen, unfortunately, I can't ever do your hair again.
You lost your
Like,
privilege.
I deleted the post. I'm like, I get it, but you're not stable enough to be my client.
Yeah, because she's going to do it again.
Yeah.
She's going to do it again. Wow. And that's just the thing too. Everybody's a critic. Everybody's a fucking critic.
And I was like,
you have an iPhone? I guess you're a critic already.
Yeah. I was.
You don't like the restaurant? Oh, just bash them and ruin their business. Oh, I was running 10 minutes late. Why don't you go on and tell the world that so everybody thinks that that's the type of service they're going to be getting?
Oh, reviews. I've ripped people in reviews. I've had a woman come to my salon, and I had the girl I used to work with, Kimmy. Her name is Kimmy. If you listen to this, I'm talking about you. Kimmy had a project, and she left Kimmy a bad review. It was like a couple parts of a color. It was over time. She was an Indian client. She had really dark hair, and she wanted to be really light. So their hair is really difficult. Session 2 now. She left a 1-star review on Yelp. She's like, I'm going back today. Let's see how it works out. Right. So I'm like, all right, she's in the chair now. Kimmy's like, oh my God, I got this review. I'm like, all right, when she comes in, let me know. So we're having a consultation. I'm like, hey, before we start your hair, you're going to have to delete that review. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we're not done with your hair yet. Give us a review on the whole service, the whole process. And if you don't delete it, we're not doing your hair. She deleted it and she left us a 5-star review after that. And I love reviews, like 1 stars, 5 stars. It doesn't matter. It gives you a chance. I talk to owners, like, we don't respond.
I actually, you know what's funny? We have one of those like digital things at the desk. Like nobody even leaves a review. I don't know. I don't really ask too many people to like, can you review the salon? But some people just out of the kindness of their heart, or they just have a bug up their ass and they decide they're going to.
Oh no, reviews are such a big part of your Google listing of how you're going to show up. It's huge. And so like we have a QR code, and what I do is so anyone listening, here's a free little fun little thing you can do. Create a flyer in your salon, like pretend this is the flyer. Make sure it's a picture of someone getting their hair done. A beautiful mask, right? Something like luxurious. Talk about the mask, $55 value, $60 value, repairs your hair, shine, fix your cuticle, all that shit. QR code. Scan, yours free today. Leave us a review, it's yours for free today. And so they're enticed to leave you a review because they get the free mask. Ask your stylist about it. And it's an easy way to get a bunch of reviews if you're a new salon and you want to jump the rankings in Google. But
like I said, I have that digital thing. Yeah.
It's so important. But don't forget, now not asking your clients who are your raving fans to leave you a review is letting someone else pass you on by who you may be able to serve better.
Yeah, that's very true.
I tell my people who are afraid of social media, any of my clients or my stylists and my team, I'm like, why don't you want to post social media? She's like, well, I'm embarrassed. I'm this. I'm like, so you mean to tell me the girl who's 23, who has no problem posting on social media, has no idea how to do hair as good as you do, right? She's going to post. She's going to get that client who is unhappy with her marriage, maybe going through divorce, really feeling bad about herself. Now she's going to go to this girl who posts every day, get her hair fucked up, be even sad, more sad, potentially want to kill herself. She doesn't go out of the house. I make this elaborate story, all because you don't want to post. Had you posted, she would have been in your chair, and you've been through a divorce, so you know how to go. You know what she's going through.
They could have resonated about that.
You could have connected. You would have killed that haircut. You would have killed her color. Would have been amazing. She would have crushed it. She would have been happy. She would have went on the next day, went on that date with that person instead of canceling it.
Yeah, she could have next husband.
I create this whole scenario. I'm like, all because you're selfish and you're afraid to post,
bitch, because you don't want to go on social media. How dare you?
But that's true. Like, they're not going to find you.
I know. Yeah, because you can't. They're not just going to. But that's just it. You know, I have an issue with this new generation that just thinks that I'm gonna have a 10,000 followers, but yet the work they're doing, not putting the investment into the work they're doing, but they're putting the one thing that they did. They're photoshopping it a little bit. They're deepening the areas and fixing it.
Oh yeah.
it out there, so it's not authentic. And then people are coming in, and then they're like, "That wasn't what I got." So it's, I don't know. I think it's very important to post. I'm doing almost all the social media for all
Yeah.
of the on, and then for the book and all that. My husband is like, put that motherfucking phone away, please. I can't do with that phone. But I'm like, oh, I have content. I have content. I mean, you have to do something with it. But I find that if you don't put it out there, you're absolutely right, Nick. Nobody knows you're there.
Good
So,
marketing makes a bad product fail faster. So for all you girls, I know who you are. I know who listens to this podcast. I know when you edit your photos, and then Debbie looks at her picture and she's like, "That's not my hair.
how would I
What's
look
this
like?
picture? I don't look like that." But also, when now someone sees that picture and they go to you get their hair done, they ask for that thing that you posted about, and you can't recreate it because you can't Photoshop their hair in real life. Guess what? You're a really
Yep.
good marketer, but you have a bad product. Fix your product, because they're going to tell the world that you suck at what you do.
And that's what I mean, is that I do understand that social media presence it's king right now. This is where you have to be, but you have to hone in on your skills. And the thing about the I don't want to say the younger, because I know people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s
Mhm.
who are becoming hairdressers. The newer generation, there's this misconception that if they just put it out on social media, like if you build it, they will come.
Nope.
It's not the case, because if you have to fail to succeed, and you have to walk before you can run. Sorry with all these analogies,
Yeah.
but like I feel that there's not enough, like, so they're going to cosmetology school. They don't want to be an assistant. It's like beneath them, because who wants to push a broom or do laundry? So they're not doing the apprenticeship. Then they're getting out of school, so they're getting their license, because they're, the state board said, the state board is ridiculous. It's like, so prehistoric. So they're getting the license, and then they're just going independent, and then they're like, where are the people? They don't have the skill, so they can put it all out there on their sister's hair that they probably did, and they get the pictures just right so it looks great. People come in, then they're like a deer in the headlights, and that's the work I fix. And then wait, the killer of it all, they're charging like top dollar.
450 for a partial highlight with a
Oh,
gloss and a haircut.
yeah,
What are you? What?
yeah.
I would
So,
get those people too.
yeah.
How much
So,
does that cost me? I'm like, honestly, like a corrective color. I'm like, all you need is this is like 3 low lights and a toner. You're good.
yeah.
She's like,
Well,
oh, they told me $500.
come from the field of like, you don't have 6N, you use 5 and 7. Like, we know how to pivot. We know how to, work our little angles. You could look at somebody's hair and say, like, all I need to do is a little root smudge and do this and glaze it down, put a few low lights, put a highlight there. We could fix it. But they're not savvy enough. It's like they got a driver's license and then they went out and bought themselves a Maserati. Like,
Yep.
you gotta at least start. And so that's where I feel being an apprentice and being an assistant is so important. You want to go be independent down the road, by all means, go do that. But you have to learn. You're learning not only from what your hands are doing, but what the people around you are doing. So a lot of what I've learned and what I do good is because I fucked it up a lot back then. Or I watched another hairdresser that I was the assistant for fuck it up. And I go, oh, I have to remember, don't squeeze the foils like that because that stuff bleeds out, or don't do that, or remember not to do that. And red is potent. You got to dive in the root. I learned from that. You don't learn that if you're not around anybody.
Experience. Yep. Yeah, 100% right. You need to either learn from your own mistakes or someone else's mistakes.
Absolutely. And I have everything I do well. I burn the chicken. I don't put that. I watch it in the oven. I made a wrong turn there. Now I know. I go to the gas station. I make the turn. Like, you have to screw it up a little bit, and that makes us human. And this generation, they bail. They freeze and they bail because they don't want to have to put the work in. So if a client,
it's hard, and then they're going to be a realtor. Then they're going to try Pilates instructor.
Yeah.
And like, you got to be good at something. So you can't be good at something if you don't spend enough time trying to do it. So spend time. You went to school for it. Spend the time, do it, get the skills. Then you get the attention. Then you become successful. But
and then they want
about the book,
be your influencer, and which is all great, but what's the likelihood of that?
This right here, I think they should buy it in hair schools and let people read it as part of their curriculum.
I am going to be speaking to a school district and to a BOCES center.
Okay.
In weeks, and I'm attacking those kids.
Yeah, there's so much in here for a young hairstylist just to get perspective of old
Thank you.
school, new school, how it really is. And I think that this would really help people understand what they need to do in this industry. Like
I mean, the
what's
expectations of what
yeah.
they should. I mean, okay, so that book is about me and my journey, and I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but it worked for me. It's a formula that's been proven to work. It worked. You have to stay at it. You got to work at it. You got to every day's got to be better than the day before. It's also, if you think about it, Nick, it is perfect for the hair industry, but any small business person.
Mm-hmm.
You own a bakery, you own a dry cleaner, you know, you're a dog groomer. It's hard working with the public. And I feel it would resonate with that. I have a friend of mine who is he's bald, first of all. I love him to death, but this hair, it's not going to help him. But he's a wealth management like hedge fund guy. He bought like 20 copies for his staff because he said they don't want to work. They don't understand what it's like to start with nothing and to gain that. They don't want to put the time in and be in the office anymore. They want to dial it in. And life is not about dialing in. What we do, we're present. And other entities as well. For the hair industry, absolutely. And I'm so excited to speak for students because I want to get them before the bad habits and the misconception starts really settling in. So I'm hoping that the message in my book is you're not alone. This is a proven path. You could follow it or not, but it's funny stories along the way. I mean, I do. It's like the salon version of The Help.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't. Should I get one?
Yeah, if you were to read like not like maybe a chapter or a couple pages a day on YouTube or a breakdown of the book, chapter by chapter.
Okay, I'll get a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and you link it to the book. You just link it right down in the description below.
Yeah.
Where can anyone who's watching right now, listening right now, where can they pick this up?
It is available online on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And
for a Google search for people or someone looking up the book on Amazon, Super Hairo, HAIRO
.co.
.co. That's your website.
Yes.
Superhairo.co.
Superhairo.co.
And then if you want to look her up by name as an author, NIKKICESTARO.
Yes.
So you guys can just hop on Amazon, get the book from there.
What's funny though, the weird thing is like on Amazon, you got to put the title in and you have to include my name. I don't know why this is happening. So I was speaking to somebody at Amazon and they're like, well, it's the algorithm. You have to kind of put my last name. Otherwise, I actually had it listed when the book came out in August, and I had a publishing company, and my next book will be about what not to do when you're writing a book and what publishing company you should not be with. So
I'm starting one next month.
What, a publishing company?
No, a book.
Okay, don't. Yeah. Well, then you could be I'll tell you how.
I'm going to self-publish.
You're going to learn what not to do. I'm going to teach you that.
Perfect.
Because you use who I use, and you're not going to go the route I went because it was frustrating. I loved writing the book, but I hated the process of publishing. I edited it myself because they were inadequate, and there was mistakes and errors and grammatical errors.
I'm going to use AI, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to write it. I'm going to edit. They can edit it themselves. I don't need an editor.
Well, that's what we're kind of understanding, that when I was getting my edits back,
yeah.
and if I wrote something like, we were all so excited, it was coming back as also. So I would question them and they'd say, well, you have creative control, so we thought that's how you wanted it. They probably put it into like an AI program, and that's how
they didn't prime it right then.
No.
Yeah.
So I did my own editing, and then the book comes with a whole nother tragedy. I loved my image, but they wouldn't touch it. And it was just every step was tragic. But I now am a self-publisher. So it's on its second edition, which I think is what's screwing it up on Amazon. So it is available, but it might say currently unavailable. Just keep scrolling until you find it.
Okay.
Yes.
Or just go right to your website, right? Directly.
Or do that.
Do that instead.
Yes, absolutely.
Superhairo.co.
Superhairo, the book 2024, you could message me directly.
All right. Nikki, anything else you want to add? Anything? Where can people find you on Instagram other than your website? What's your handle?
Superhairo, the book 2024 is the handle. And
someone listening who loves your personality, like, you know what? I need a new hairstylist. Where's your salon at? And how can people find you there?
I am in Merrick, New York, and Long Island, Long Island, if you couldn't tell from my accent. So it's Nassau County. So if you ever wanted to message me, it's Karma Beauty Studio is the name of my salon. And we are in Merrick. So check me out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for spending the hour with me. I'm glad we actually hit record and got things started again.
Yes.
So yeah, we had a little recording mishap at the beginning of the show, guys, but
we
we
had a lot
ended
of
well.
footage that you'll never see because Nick didn't
It was amazing footage. Unfortunately, maybe round 2, round 3 next time you'll get a glimpse of what we talked about.
Cameras in the studio that maybe like you could pick up the audio.
No, he had to leave early to go pick his father up. So normally I have 3 audios going. But because I'm just doing this right on this one, I can't run to the other side and hit all the records. But maybe it'll be here. Maybe because I have a couple things on my computer. Either way, amazing show.
You know?
I love spending time with you. And then, guys, honestly, if you're a reader, get the book, enjoy it. If you're not, become a reader and get the book anyway.
Here it is. Whoop! Cartoon version of me.
See you guys later.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. And